My name is Evelyn Sears, and I am 34 years old. On the last night of the year, my father stood on a stage in front of 140 guests, lifted a champagne glass, and announced that he was handing the family company to my brother. At midnight, he said, "I am officially passing Sears Meridian Group to my son, Colton, the one who actually earned it." The room erupted. Applause. Champagne raised. The band played something triumphant. My husband Nathan found my hand under the table and squeezed. I squeezed back. Everyone counted down. 10, 9, 8. Confetti ready. Noisemakers out. My brother stood on that stage like he belonged there, grinning, holding a glass that cost more than my first car. But here is what none of them knew. Not my father. Not my brother. Not the band that was about to stop playing. I had been preparing for this moment for 14 months, and at exactly midnight, I pressed send. This is how it happened. Welcome back to Calm Drama Stories, where we share real-life stories about family justice, quiet strength, and the moments that change everything. If this is your first time here, drop a comment and be sure to subscribe so you never miss a story. To understand my family, you have to understand the company, Sears Meridian Group. My father Gerald founded it 30 years ago in a rented warehouse outside of Charlotte with one delivery truck and a line of credit he had begged from 3 different banks. By the time I was in high school, it was a mid-size manufacturing and logistics firm. By the time I graduated from Wharton, it was publicly traded. $380 million market cap. 230 employees across 4 facilities. I joined as an intern the summer after business school. I was 26. Within 2 years, I rebuilt the internal audit system from scratch. Within 5, I restructured $47 million in short-term debt during a liquidity crisis that almost shut us down. By 32, I was vice president of finance, the youngest VP in company history. My brother Colton joined 3 years ago. He was 28. He got the title of vice president of business development, a corner office, an assistant, and a company credit card. What he did not get was accountability. Colton's division had no measurable deliverables, no performance reviews tied to output. He showed up. He shook hands at trade shows. He ordered lunch on the company card and called it client relations. When the board praised the company's turnaround after the liquidity crisis, my father stood at the quarterly meeting and thanked the team. Generic. Broad. Safe. The next day, he bought Colton a new car. That was how the Sears family worked. My father had a saying. I heard it first when I was 16, sitting at the kitchen table doing homework while he talked to my mother about the future. "A son carries the name," he said. "A daughter carries the memories." I carried a lot more than memories, but Gerald Sears never counted what his daughter carried. The first time my father used champagne as a stage prop was 3 years before that New Year's Eve, his 60th birthday. Same estate. Same ballroom. Fewer guests, maybe 80, but the same crystal chandeliers, the same 12-piece band, the same catering company that wrapped napkins into little swans. Gerald Sears stood at the front of the room in a charcoal suit with a champagne flute in his hand and gave a speech about legacy. He talked about his own father, Hank Sears, who had built a small trucking company in the 70s and lost it when his 3 daughters sold it after he died. No son to carry it. No one who understood what it meant. "I promised myself I would never let that happen," my father said. He looked at Colton. "Tonight, I want to introduce the future of Sears Meridian. My son. My heir. The one I have been raising for this." 80 people clapped. Colton walked to the front and shook my father's hand. There were photos. A cake. The band played "My Way." I stood near the back with a champagne flute I had not sipped. Nathan leaned in. "You okay?" "I'm fine." I set the glass on the nearest table. "I have been fine my whole life." That night, driving home, Nathan said nothing for 20 minutes. Then, "He didn't mention you at all." "I know. You saved that company 2 years ago." "I know that too." I watched the highway lines pass and thought about my grandfather, Hank Sears. The man who lost everything because he trusted no one who did not carry his last name. My father spent his whole life trying not to repeat that mistake. He made a different one instead. I was the first person in the building every morning, 6:30. Parking lot empty except for the night security guard finishing his shift. I would nod at him, badge in, walk past the dark offices, and sit down at my desk next to the server room. My office shared a wall with the company's data infrastructure. When the servers hummed at night during batch processing, I could feel it through the floor. I liked that sound. It meant the numbers were running. It meant the system I built was working. Every audit trail in that company ran through my department. Vendor payments, payroll cycles, revenue recognition, quarterly SEC filings. I reviewed them all, not because it was required at my level, because I could not stop. That was my weakness. Not naivety, not blind loyalty, perfectionism, over-responsibility. I could not walk away from a spreadsheet with a rounding error. I could not leave the building knowing there was a purchase order I had not cross-referenced. 230 people depended on those numbers being right. Their mortgages, their kids' college funds, their retirement accounts. My mother called it overwork. "You are going to burn out, sweetheart," she would say on the phone. "Your brother knows how to delegate. You should learn from him." Colton knew how to delegate because Colton did not do anything worth holding on to. He delegated the work because there was no work to begin with. But in my mother's vocabulary, that was leadership. I did not argue with her. I had stopped arguing with my mother about Colton a long time ago. It never changed anything. She would just lower her voice and say the same thing she always said. "I will tell you what that was. But not yet. Thanksgiving." 14 months before the New Year's Eve party. Gerald, Diane, Colton, Colton's girlfriend Lauren, Nathan, and me. 6 people around a table meant for 12. Turkey, cranberry sauce, a casserole my mother made from a recipe she had clipped from a magazine in 1994. My father brought up succession, not subtly. He set down his fork and said, "I want to talk about the transition plan." He laid it out. Colton would move into a co-CEO role by spring, full CEO by the following January. The board would approve it. "Smooth handoff," Gerald said. "No drama." I put down my fork. "Have you considered a formal succession committee? Board-level oversight? Independent evaluation of candidates?" The table went quiet. Gerald looked at me like I had switched to a foreign language. "This is not a committee decision, Evelyn. This is family." Colton leaned back, smiled, did not say a word. He did not need to. My mother touched my arm under the table. I knew what was coming. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." She said it quiet, almost gentle. The way she said everything that was designed to make me stop talking. I picked up my fork, ate a bite of casserole, let it go. But here is what stayed with me after that dinner. Colton's quarterly numbers. His division had reported record vendor acquisitions that quarter. 12 new contracts. Revenue projections up 19%. On paper, it looked like a miracle. I ran those numbers through my audit system the following Monday morning. 12 new contracts. 3 of them were with the same vendor under slightly different names. All payments routed to a single receiving account. I printed the report. Took it home. Sat on it for 2 weeks. That was the beginning. The vendor was called Greystone Industrial Supply. I had never heard of them before that Thanksgiving audit. They had appeared in our system 8 months earlier, listed as a supplier of specialized logistics components. Colton's division had signed them. I ran the standard checks. Business address, a P.O. box in Wilmington, Delaware. No physical office, no company website, no employees listed on LinkedIn, no Better Business Bureau profile, no state contractor registration. The payments were structured carefully. Monthly wire transfers, each one just under the reporting threshold. 3 contracts, 3 slightly different entity names. Greystone Industrial Supply LLC, Greystone Logistics Solutions Inc., Greystone Supply Group. Same receiving account number on all 3. Textbook. Someone had done this before, or someone had been told exactly how to do it. I pulled the payment authorizations. Every one of them had been approved within Colton's division. His assistant had processed the paperwork. His signature on the contract originals. Total disbursed to Greystone entities in 8 months, $1.2 million. For a vendor that, as far as I could tell, did not manufacture, ship, or deliver anything. I did not confront Colton. I did not go to my father. I did not call the board. I printed every document, every wire record, every contract. I put them in a folder, put the folder in my bag, and drove home. Nathan was in the kitchen when I came in. He looked at me carrying a 2-inch stack of paper and said, "What are you reading?" I set the folder on the kitchen table, sat down, poured a glass of water. The beginning of something I cannot undo. He pulled out a chair and sat across from me. He did not ask me to explain. He waited. That weekend, I spread every printout across our dining table. It took up the entire surface. Wire transfer records on the left, contract copies in the center. Entity registration documents on the right. Nathan stood at the edge of the table with his arms crossed, reading upside down. He was an associate at a litigation firm that handled corporate compliance cases. Not securities law exactly, but close enough. "Shell Company," he said, pointing at the Delaware registration. "Registered to a person named David Morrell." He looked at me. "Do you know that name?" "No, but Colton attended a trade conference in Atlanta 14 months ago." I pulled the attendee list. David Morrell was listed as a vendor representative at booth 17. Nathan exhaled slowly. "If this is what it looks like, it is not just internal fraud. The company is publicly traded. SEC filings, investor disclosures, quarterly reports. If those vendor payments are fraudulent, the financial statements Sears Meridian filed with the SEC are materially misstated." "I know. That makes it securities fraud." "I know that too." He was quiet for a moment. Then, "You should file a whistleblower complaint. SEC. Confidential. Dodd-Frank protects your identity. If the sanctions exceed 1 million, you could be eligible for an award. 10 to 30%. I shook my head. "I am not doing this for money." "I know you are not. But you need to do it through a system that protects you, because if you go to Gerald with this, he will bury it. And if he buries it, those 230 employees are the ones who pay when it finally comes out." He was right. If I tried to handle this inside the family, it would disappear. "Not for the money," I said. "For the record." December of the previous year, 13 months before the New Year's Eve party. I sat at the kitchen table after Nathan had gone to bed. Laptop open, the SEC whistleblower tip submission portal, a long form, fields for company information, alleged violations, supporting documentation. I typed for 2 hours, detailed the Greystone entities, the payment patterns, the structuring, Colton's signatures, attached the printouts I had scanned, hit submit at 11:47 at night, confirmation screen, tip accepted, reference number assigned. A receipt email arrived seconds later. My phone buzzed on the table, the notification sound. I stared at it. 14 characters. A reference number that meant someone outside of my family, outside of that building, outside of Gerald's orbit, now knew what I knew. I screenshot the confirmation, saved it in an encrypted folder on a thumb drive, put the thumb drive in our home safe next to our marriage certificate and Nathan's grandfather's pocket watch. At work the next Monday, I walked in at 6:30 like always, nodded at the night guard, sat at my desk, opened the quarterly financials Gerald had asked me to prepare for the board. I did my job. Every number perfect. Every footnote accurate. Because that was the point. I was not sabotaging anything. I was doing my job better than anyone in that building. But I also started building a second file. Private. Offline. Every Greystone transaction logged. Every approval chain traced. Every email between Colton's assistant and the accounts payable department. Dated. Organized. Cross-referenced. The company held its holiday party that week. Gerald stood in the cafeteria with a champagne glass and toasted another record year. Everyone raised their cups. Colton grinned. I held my glass, did not drink, smiled when they looked my way. If you have ever sat across a table from someone who took credit for everything you built and smiled through it, you know this feeling. If this story is hitting close to home, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment below. Your story matters too. Now let me tell you what I found next. 3 months after I filed, the SEC made contact. Not a phone call, not a letter. A message through the secure portal. An investigator had been assigned. They had reviewed my initial submission and opened a preliminary investigation into Sears Meridian Group. They wanted more. Specifically, they wanted internal documentation, payment authorization workflows, vendor onboarding records, communication logs between the Business Development Division and the Accounts Payable Department. I had all of it, every piece, because I was the Vice President of Finance. These were my files, my system, my audit trails. Accessing them was not espionage, it was my job. Over the next 4 weeks, I compiled a second submission, organized by category, payment records on top, vendor registrations in the middle, internal memos at the bottom. I uploaded them through the secure portal on a Sunday evening while Nathan read on the couch. Done? He asked without looking up. Second batch. How many more? At least one, maybe two. They need executive-level knowledge. He nodded. We did not discuss it further. At work, the rhythm continued. Gerald announced a company-wide town hall for the following month. The subject line on the calendar invite read, "The Future of Sears Meridian." Everyone in the building knew what that meant. Succession. Colton's name on the masthead. My assistant Pam put it on my calendar and paused at my door. Should I block travel that week? No, I will be here. She looked at me for a second too long. Pam had been with me for 6 years. She did not miss things. Okay, she said, and left. I opened the SEC portal and checked the status. Active. Under review. Waiting for more. I had more. The town hall was held in the main conference room, standing room only. Every employee who could attend did. Gerald brought a podium. He brought a projector. He brought a slide deck with a timeline on it. The slide said, Leadership Transition, Sears Meridian Group. Below it, a photo of Colton in a suit, arms crossed, smiling. The kind of photo that belongs on the cover of a magazine no one reads. Gerald spoke for 20 minutes. The founding story. The early years. The growth. Then, every great company needs a successor who understands not just the numbers, but the people. Someone who builds relationships. Someone who leads with vision. He paused, looked at Colton. I am proud to announce that my son, Colton Sears, will begin serving as co-CEO in training, effective this spring. Applause. Not thunderous, polite. The kind of clapping that fills a room without conviction. Colton took the podium. His speech was polished, rehearsed. Gerald's speechwriter had clearly drafted it. Colton thanked the employees, thanked the board, thanked everyone who made this possible. He did not mention my name. After the meeting, Pam came to my office and closed the door. He did not even say your name. I noticed. You rebuilt the audit system. You saved the company in 2020. You are the reason payroll clears every 2 weeks. Pam. She stopped. I looked at her. I know what I did. I do not need Colton to list it. That evening, my mother called. Was it not wonderful? Your brother looked so presidential. She actually said that. Presidential. I said. He looked like someone who practiced in front of a mirror. There was a pause. Evelyn. Just my name. A period at the end of it. Then silence. May.